Hey, it's Ken. It's time to do another video. We are outside in a public area, so that noise you hear in the background, that's kids playing at the pool. So God bless them. Hope they have fun. Today we're going to talk about how bullet grain weight affects your accuracy. Now, I want you to, if you watched my videos when I was shooting the 16-inch barrel versus the 12.5-inch barrel, I was saying that while 55 grain is excellent and it will give you good results, probably the best thing if you want to extend your range beyond 300 meters is to buy 62 grain FMJ, not the green tip, okay, 62 grain FMJ. And the reason I don't like the green tip, the M855, is as I said in my last video, there was a study done by an Army major in 2009, and he said that the M855 green tip fired from the M4 14.5-inch barrel, the maximum effective combat range is 200 meters. And while it's true that the mechanical accuracy of the M4, it is accurate out to 500 yards. The M855 will not function or it will not fragment or tumble once the muzzle velocity goes below 2,500 feet per second. So the maximum combat effective range, which means you're going to get an incapacitating hit or an incapacitating wound, is 200 meters. Okay, so I only suggest that you use the M855 green tip in the suppressive role, meaning you're not actually shooting for accuracy. It's an area denial weapon, and so I think your best bet is to use that for just for that purpose, unless you have shooting a rifle or you have a rifle with a barrel length of 16 inches or more. Then you can use it as you see fit. Okay, so now we're going to get into this. I'm going to show you some pictures, talk you through what I did, then we're going to come back and talk about the hits I had on target. All right, we'll see you in a few. All right, I'm at the range. This is what it looks at from my firing point. I'm using an LPVO from Primary Arms. This is their Nova reticle. I like it because it's not too busy. It does have a BDC that will go out to 600 yards, so it's a good one. I like it. The reason you're seeing this picture, I want you to notice that I have it set on 3. That's important because this LPVO is a single focal plane. If you have a double focal plane, and if I'm saying that wrong, I'm sure you'll correct me in the comments. In a double focal plane, you have to max out the scope for the BDC to work properly. For the single focal plane, the scope, as you zoom in and zoom out on the optic, the BDC remains true. So that's important to you. This is the target I used. You put this target at 25 meters or 27 yards, and then the humanoid targets there are in correct relationship what you would actually see at those meters. What I did was I cut out several 100 meter targets and several 300 meter targets and then taped them to the back of the target sheet so I'd have something to shoot at and make corrections as needed. This is what the target looks like. There's 100 meters target on the bottom, 300 meter target on the top. I took this picture immediately following shooting the 62 grain FMJ, so when we start shooting at the other targets, you won't see me shooting the 62 grain because I was BZOing and I figured this was good enough, but that's what it looks like close up. These are the cartridges I selected. I used all Hornady Frontier to make it even Steven as much as I could, except for the 68 grain. I use 223 Sierra Match King from Fiocchi. And people say there's a difference between 223 and 556. I just don't see it. And you'll see the evidence here later on in the video. Okay, let's do some shooting. I'll put 3 rounds in the 100 meter target first, then switch to the 300 meter target, and we'll also get 3 rounds. 55 grain. .68 grain. .75 grain. Unfortunately, I lost a 300-yard target, so we're just going to have to use a regular target on this one. But we still should be able to tell the difference. All right, I hope that's pretty understandable, the setup here. And I'm going to be showing you the targets that I used. I've cut them out so they're easier to see on screen, and I'm going to be holding them up here. Remember, it's just me and my iPhone, so it's not going to be, you know, fantastic video quality and audio quality and quality editing. Okay, I'm just going to hold it up. Might cover my face. If it does, it's okay, right? As long as you can see it, that's all that matters, as far as I'm concerned. The first thing is the 62 grain. This is my group at 100 meters. Now, as I said, I will be moving to the 62 grain. I have stockpiled 55 grain, but I'm not going to stockpile it anymore. I'm going to start stockpiling 62 grain, FMJ. Okay, now, here's the 55 grain. Now you notice it's about an inch short, right? Or an inch under the target, okay? Not a big deal. Now I want you to notice this right here, this 68 grain, open tip match. Open tip or hollow point boat tail Sierra Match King, if I'm not mistaken. Right, notice where those hits are. Pretty much the same as a 62 grain FMJ, right? Okay, keep that in mind. Here's the 75 grain from 100 meters, right? So, as you can see, when we're firing either one of these bullet weights or these grain weights, that it at 100 meters, it really doesn't matter, right? The issue comes in at 300 meters, okay? Now, these are my hits here, right? 62 grain, 300 meters. Now, notice that they're in white, okay? Those are actual hits on the target. Unfortunately, it's about 1.5 inches high, okay? It's about 1.5 inches high on the target, not mils, just 1.5 inches high. Okay, so what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to go back out to the range and correct this deficiency right here. I want it to be more toward the shoulders or a little bit under the shoulders, basically where the nipples are, right? Shoot at the nipples. Well, at least that's what I was taught, and that's what I do. Okay, so this needs to come down about, 1.25 inches, not 1.5 inches, but 1.25 inches. Okay. Here's the 55 grain. Isn't that interesting? Okay, I had my scope, my optic set up for 62 grain at 100 yards, at the 100-yard target. But look at the 55 grain. It's great, huh? The only problem is I'm going to have to lower it a little bit. 1.25 inches, right? And that's what it's going to come down. Okay, let's go on. Here's the 68 grain. Now, if you'll notice, pretty much it's in the same area, except 2 in the head area, except for that third shot. Instead of being a hit in the right shoulder, it's actually a miss over the right shoulder. So it needs to come down 1.25 inches also. Finally, here's the 77 grain. Total misses, right? Total misses. So, and that's the problem. Okay, that's the problem you have. And it's going to be even more noticeable here in just a moment, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and make the point of impact 1.25 inches lower for each grain weight. All right, so we'll be back in just a moment and I'll show you those. All right, now as I was saying, I'm going to have to come down 1.25 inches, right, or thereabouts, to so I can aim at the nipples and make a good hit. Now, if I do that, and this is what the 62 grain F and J, that's where in the projectiles would be striking the target in that area right there, which is a good solid hit, right? If you hit. Now, here's the issue. This is now the 55 grain. See that red dot right above where it says 55 grain, between 300 meters and 55 grain? That is where the projectiles would be impacting. And I used a minute of angle calculator, and that range is not 300, it's actually 260. So once I move the aiming point for the 62 grain down 1.5 inches, right, then I'm no longer hitting the center of the target. My range here will actually be 260 yards. All right, pretty simple, right? Okay, now let's move on to 75 grain. Now, this will be the new aiming point for the 75 grain, right there. Now, I had to make the dot big enough for you to see it, okay? So it's actually not that huge of an area, but guess what that difference is right there? It doesn't look like it's very much on the target, right? But on the ground, that is actually 6 yards or 18 feet. It would be missing to the right 18 feet using the new BZO for what I'm going to do for 62 grain. Okay. Now, however, look what happens when I do the 68 grain. I come down 1.25 inches, from the center of those hits and basically add the same thing as the 62 grain. Add the same thing as the 62 grain. Okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to post these pictures at the end of the video, pictures of these targets, where I hit and where, once I move the strike of the projectile down for 62 grains at 300 yards or 300 meters, then you can look at the corresponding dots where the bullets would be striking, and then I'm going to write on them also so you can see what the actual range is. That's my whole thing here, is I want you to see it and understand it. And my suggestion here is from a previous video, as I was saying in the beginning, I was suggesting that you move to 62 grain FMJ for your rifles, because you get better performance at 300 yards for the 12.5 inch barrel and at 400 yards for the 16 inch barrel. And if you do that, then you can match it with the 68 grain, and you're getting basically or similar results as you would from the 62 grain. And that's my suggestion. All right, so I can use all three types of the 62 grain, the 62 grain FMJ, or excuse me, I can use the two types of the 62 grain FMJ, the regular FMJ, and then the M855 green tip. I'm going to get similar ballistics at 300 meters. And then I can use the 68 grain to shoot out to 500 meters from my 16 inch barrel and 400 meters from my 12.5 inch barrel. And I don't have to dial. I don't have to remember any holdovers. I don't have to figure out how many MOA or how many mils I have to change my scope. I don't have to do any of that. All I have to do is change magazines, and I'm going to get similar results. So that's the point of the video today. You can't just slap any old 5.56 bullet weight cartridge in your AR and expect to get the same results. The best result you're going to see is zeroing your scope or your optic using the 62 grain, and then that will allow you to get similar results using the 62 grain green tip and then the 68 grain boat tail hollow point. That's going to be it for today. I hope you have a blessed one, and we will see you next time.